I don't know about you, but around a year ago, Matt Furie's boys club rotation started really taking off. It began with Pepe, then you had Andy and Brett on bass, and then you had LANDWOLF, you had BIRDDOG, and FOFAR. So we're going to look tonight at the 6 core boys club projects and see what happened to them and if they're going to do anything this year. Should we still be bullish on them? This is crypto simulation theory. I'm the Gaussian snake. This is not financial advice. So, before we talk about the Boys Club projects, we need to look at the one that controls them all. And since many of them are denominated in wrapped Ethereum, we need to look at ETH against Bitcoin. And ETH against Bitcoin has just been terrible for so long, right? It's been in this really long, multiple year bear market. But we finally got down to the 382 fib. We had a nice wick underneath. We actually went slightly below my red zone of 0.03. That wick got gobbled up. And, if you just follow this like a bouncing ball, it really seems like we're starting to flatten out right now. And you can almost feel this starting to turn around in February and really, get a lot more bullish and make the turn probably as we get closer to March. So that will have a direct implication on the Boys Club projects. And I kind of think of the Boys Club projects as a beta play on Ethereum. So that's kind of like, how I view them. So if we go back to early 2024, Ethereum was showing some strength and the Boys Club projects were showing strength along with it. But then as Ethereum Bitcoin started to fall, the Boys Club fell with it, especially once this trend line broke. And so we find ourselves in kind of a difficult spot right now. If you're holding any of these Boys Club coins, and for full disclosure, I hold FOFAR, but that's going to be the last coin I discuss. I'm going to start with PEPE. So let's go ahead and take a look at what PEPE is doing. And this is PEPE on Ethereum. I'm talking about the main plays, the majors. In May of 2023, it kind of went through a period of consolidation that took 9 months. And we got to around the week of February 12th where it really took off. And it was just this one God candle that happened on the week of February 26th that blasted PEPE into the stratosphere, making it all the way up to the 1.618 fib. And most recently, it actually tried to get to the 2 fib back in December, which is really impressive. And now it's battling the 1.618. This is on the weekly. If we go to the daily time frame, and zoom in, PEPE's price action has just not been looking very good lately. And like I said, I think of PEPE and all the Boys Club projects as kind of a beta play on Ethereum. If you want, you could say PEPE is the beta play on Ethereum, and then maybe, the rest are beta plays on PEPE. That certainly would be a fair thing to say, and I would agree with that. Gaussian channel for PEPE is going red. You had a really nasty, almost like a head and shoulders formation. It's just spewing out. PEPE's trying to hold the 1.618 fib level. I kind of doubt that this holds. I think it's probably going to come down. But I would, at the very worst situation, I think, we would stop somewhere around here at 0.000012 wrapped Ethereum. That would be my guess. Actually, I think this is in USD, so 0.001 cents. That to me would be like a worst case scenario if PEPE were to capitulate from here before, kind of making the turn. So could it hold the 1.618? It could, but I'm not sure if it will. Let's look at some indicators and see what this is kind of showing. We could look at the ADX and DI. I guess that was already loaded on here. Sometimes that happens. Sometimes I double click and things don't come up. So in terms of the ADX and DI, it just looks very crabby on the daily. On the weekly, it is also looking kind of crabby. So we're seeing the bull kind of come in towards the green coming in towards the red. Trend strength is pretty strong, but is curling down. So, it seems to me like January was definitely not PEPE's month, and things are likely to get a little worse probably before they get better. So maybe the first part of February might not be so kind. But I still think sometime, this looks like it could definitely resolve itself sometime in Q1. I maybe late Q1, but I think, you can see things are kind of closing in. And if you go back to August, this almost closed completely before it started to go back up. So maybe we come down a little bit and then round our way up as we kind of like close out Q1 and maybe head into Q2. That's just a guess based off of what I'm seeing with this particular metric. Another thing we could look at is the wave trend on the, again, on the weekly. So the wave trend made it up to the top zone. It did not print a bearish divergence dot, but this is a bearish divergence. It's coming back down. So we'll have to see how that plays out. Another indicator we could probably look at on the weekly is the beam to see our undervaluation, overvaluation. Pepe had periods where it was extremely overvalued. That would be February of 2024 and May of 2024. That's where it put in some red on the beam indicator. It has come down considerably to about 0.33 risk. And I am really not sure if Pepe is going to make it down below the green. I think, below this dark green line and get into extreme undervaluation, but I do think Pepe could make it closer to this green dash line. You can see this is starting to kind of curve up. So, you probably can get some pretty good DCAs in on Pepe maybe in the next few weeks if things continue to kind of play out towards the downside like I think they are likely to do. It's not really like a long-term downside that I see, but I could see that happening. In terms of moving averages, let's go ahead and look at a few. We don't have a 100-week yet. That doesn't exist. We have a 20-week. I guess we could pull up a 10. So, we should probably look at some daily MAs too. So in terms of the whole moving averages, we've got death crosses coming, right? We got the 10-week death crossing with the 50-week. 20 weeks probably going to death cross with a 50-week. We don't have a 100-week, but I imagine it's probably going to trend down. I really think Pepe is going to get down into this region around the 1.414. I don't think it will get to the 1.414. I just think it's going to test the breakout highs from here. That's what I think is likely to happen, probably over the next few weeks. If I had to, take a guess, I'm going to turn off the Gaussian channel. It's really not helpful in this scenario. Let's go to the daily and look at Pepe on a daily time frame and see kind of what's going on in terms of moving averages. So I can actually pull up a 200 and a 100 at this point. I'm going to turn the 10 off. I don't really care about the 10. Okay, and so I don't know if these fibs are getting in the way for you guys. Let me know in the comments if they are, and I'll try not to, use them. But it's just down below everything, right? You can see that we had death cross of the 20 with the 200, death cross of the 50 with the 200, death cross of the 100. So this is good news when you have all of these death crossed, because then you expect that at some point this is going to turn back around. So I think it's going to be underneath the 1.618 though. So that seems to be the case with Pepe. So kind of my read of Pepe is, and Pepe does control the entire boys club. So you can't really expect much out of the boys club. I think January is pretty much going to suck. It already has. I think some of February is likely to suck as well, but we could see things stabilize and start to turn around sometime in February at the earliest. At the latest, I'd say probably late March. So sometime in Q1, I think Pepe is going to make it out of the abyss. And that's kind of what I'm expecting from Ethereum against Bitcoin as well. So it all kind of coincides nicely. Now, not all of the boys club charts look identical. They do share a lot in common. So I'd like to look at the next alpha play of the boys club, which is Brett on base. We're going to look at Brett on base. Okay, so this is Brett on base, which is still on Ethereum. So, but one of the only ones that's not directly on ETH, right? The way that the other boys clubs are, that has done very, very well. So Brett debuted in March of 2024, so almost a year ago, about 10 months ago, and it experienced a pretty nice mania run early on, as many of the boys club projects did, achieving its all-time high, which was later replaced, actually fairly recently, in June of 2024, and then it got all the way up to about halfway between the 1 and the 1.272, and then just kind of gradually crabbed its way down almost to the 0.5 fib, where it found some buying pressure and then went back up to form kind of like a macro double top in November. Okay, one of the only boys club projects that really, besides Pepe, that had such a strong move. So it tried that 1.272 again, didn't quite make it, put in a slightly higher high, but ultimately this is a double top, which is bearish, of course, and you're seeing that bearishness play out. And I mean, base spread is almost at the 618 again. So this is going to be kind of a do or die test. I mean, I think it probably will test the 618. We saw a lot of buying pressure there back in September. So will we see buying pressure there again? I think so. I think it's likely we do. So, this chart looks kind of rough at the moment, as I mean, honestly, all the boys club projects do at this point. So if we look on the daily chart, there's obviously more data, more to look at here. We can pull up some moving averages. So go ahead and pull up a 50, 100, 200, and 20, and just kind of take a look at what's going on. And it's just death cross after death cross, right? You got the death cross of the 20 with the 100 and the 200, the 50 death cross with the 100, 200, and the 100 is death crossed. And you got the 200 turning over. So this is good news. Again, it just seems like they're all kind of being weak at the same time. They all kind of show strength at the same time. So I think like somewhere underneath the 618, between the 0.5 and the 618, if we put on some Bollinger Bands and a Gaussian channel on the daily, let's see if this gives us any useful information. We are getting underextended from the red Gaussian channel, concave down, bearish. The Bollinger Band spilling out to the downside, indicating that we are likely going to have a capitulation event pretty soon. I think that the bleeding should stop around the 618, and that would actually lead to a pretty strong bottoming formation. Very interesting. Like coming to revisit like this bottoming range, which started in August and ended in November. That's a really strong bottoming range. So I expect this to hold at the 618, be kind of a final retest of that region before maybe starting to crab around and find strength to go higher. And I think ultimately, this is going to, maybe we could see like a cup and handle or something form out of this. But no, I mean, it's looking very abysmal right now, but I think, you could have some pretty good deals open up. Let's take a look at the beam indicator and see what it's saying. Well, beam risk has actually gone undervalued. Note that at no point during Bread on Base's history, even despite its high market cap, did it ever reach the extreme overvaluation stage. So this is just like one really giant accumulation range, and we are in extreme undervaluation. I think we're going to go deeper into extreme undervaluation before we come back up again sometime in quarter one, ideally. That's the weekly view of it, but there's not a lot of data because this is a much newer coin than PEPE. So that's kind of my prognosis with Brett. I'm thinking that it probably is going to bleed a little bit more. It does have a different structure than PEPE with that double top. So that's something to keep in mind. But really, I think Brett, and of course, being on base, it's in a slightly different position than say if it was directly on ETH. I'm not sure if that helps or hurts the project. I mean, people would say, oh, well, I'm sure it helps it because of the lower transaction fees, and you could be right about that. But I'm not ready to make a prognosis about that, or say that it matters at all. Base is a remarkable layer 2, so no need to be comparing things in that way. Now, what's really good news about Bread on Base is what I'm seeing here on the daily time frame. We are very close to the oversold region. This is on the wave trend. We had the two red dots on the daily, very bearish, and we've made it all the way down to the bottom. So what this tells me is there's probably not much downside left, and that pretty much coincides with my view that we're kind of entering into a final spill out here into the 618, and that will probably even print a green dot down here, which would be really, really bullish if we could do that. A nice bullish divergence. Yeah. So my take on Brett is, like PEPE, I mean, it's kind of on a similar timeline. It may recover a little later than PEPE. I can't really predict that, but I think that Brett will come back with ferocious strength later in the year. Late quarter one, early quarter two at the latest, I would say. Next up is Andy on Ethereum. And as the case with all the other Boys Club projects, you see some similar patterns playing out. This one looks similar to Brett on Base, actually. I feel like Andy and Brett really look similar. You have your first top in June. This debuted in April, so a little bit after Brett debuted. And then you have a summer low of September, got below the 236. We saw a couple of the Boys Club projects do this. And then we had a nice, bull leg all the way. I mean, this is pretty remarkable. All the way from below the 236 in September to this 1.618 in December. So what a run that was. But it's kind of like a double top formation. Okay. It's a double top. And so it's spilling out really violently at the moment. And we're all the way down to the 786. So it didn't really build out a lot of support on some of these areas because it didn't spend a lot of time there. So this reminds me a lot of Bread on Base. Very similar setup. If we look at the weighted logarithmic Bollinger Band and we look at the Gaussian channel, look at how I mean, it looks just like Brett, like almost identical to Brett. And you can notice these similarities in some of the Boys Club projects, and I'll point it out when I see it. And wow, look at the metrics, so similar. You have the double red dot, you're in extreme undervaluation. So my prognosis for Andy is very similar to my prognosis for bread on base. It's going to find probably some horizontal support, maybe at the 0.5 fib. I think it might go down a little bit lower, but I expect it to recover on a similar timeline, probably late Q1 or Q2. Maybe with Brett recovering. It might be just a little bit behind schedule with Brett, but I mean, God, that looks so similar. The next chart we're going to look at is LANDWOLF on Ethereum, which has one of the most impressive looking charts out of the entire Boys Club crew. So you have your initial capitalization and a brutal dump, almost back to where you started in May, and then this just rocketed off all the way to the 2.272 fib, if you consider this a swing high to swing low, which is debatable. So, this is a pretty brief move. So take that with kind of a grain of salt. And it came down to the 1 fib to retest this initial capitalization breakout. This happened, in the summer. Summer was a terrible time for the Boys Club. We got another revival from that 1 fib to the 2.414, and then back spilling underneath the 2. So because I chose to define the fibs from this swing high to this swing low, that's why they ended up this way. The chart does look similar to many of the other Boys Club projects. So put in a notably higher high in the late part of 2024, and then kind of hugged the 2.272. It's back down to the 2 fib, and it's behaving similarly to the other ones. I mean, this is really no surprise, right? Like these projects are all very closely linked together. But like, if you want to look, you've got all the death crosses, right? We talked about this with the other projects. We're seeing it with this one too. So we've already seen all the death crosses. The 100 is death crossing with the 200, although not in a very like violent or aggressive way compared to, some of the other charts we've seen. So this is all in the, daily moving averages. And let me turn my camera back on so you can see me. Okay. And then we'll just do another Gaussian channel and Bollinger Band analysis. You've got spill out happening. The green Gaussian's about to go red. Could we have a little more time in this downtrend perhaps than some of the other Boys Club projects? It could be the case. We'll look at the other metrics that will give us a hint into that. Well, maybe not. So we are riding the undervaluation zone right now. We're in the green zone. Look at how much LANDWOLF has cooled off. LANDWOLF went red hot in May and June. Got that red hot overvaluation, but not extreme. We didn't get like way up here or anything like that. And then we put in a bunch of red dots, threatening a bearish divergence, which should eventually happen. And now we find ourselves back at the bottom of the range. We'd love to see a green dot form. So this one's actually showing relative strength, I believe, to some of the other Boys Club projects. LANDWOLF has really been a superstar, especially in the second half of 2024. So where could it probably end up? I'm going to guess right around here, around the 1.786. There's just so much horizontal support. There was a lot of crabbing that happened. So I'd be surprised if it lost that as support. I think we're getting close to that reversal point. And while I was, initially guessing maybe this would take longer to reverse course, it looks like it might, reverse course around the same time as all the rest of them. But yeah, congratulations to LANDWOLF. Their chart has held up better than most in the Boys Club. Really good looking chart. Okay, so this is BIRDDOG, which this is where the chart really starts to look different. And in some ways resembles a little bit of what PEPE did in its early days. So, if you go back to PEPE and look at 2023 to 2024, you can see some similarities here. So after its initial capitalization, and I don't really feel it's appropriate to use this swing high to swing low. I'm going to use this one here. So that will make the 1 fib up here. BIRDDOG had a bit of a double top. So it came down to the 236, rode right back up to the 1 fib, only to ride down to below the 236, and it put in some summer lows. This is where a lot of the Boys Club projects bottomed. And then it just kind of crabbed around between the 236 and the 382. The bad news is it really hasn't had a lot of momentum in most of 2024. The good news is this is really, this is really strong support to have this this sideways action in between these fibs. And now it's finding itself after an unsuccessful blast off to the 886. It didn't quite make it. It's retraced all the way back down to the 0.5. So I like how this is like less volatile on the way back down, and I like how it's retracing to a higher low. And BIRDDOG just seems to like the crab. Like that just seems to be the theme of this chart, is just a lot of crabbing. I don't know. Let's take a look at some moving averages and see if we can kind of discern anything from them, anything meaningful. Let's put on the 20. So if we look at the moving averages and kind of where BIRDDOG's at now, it actually looks stronger than some of the Boys Club majors. So while the major Boys Club projects that had epic 2024s are having some pretty significant drawdowns, I feel like BIRDDOG is actually sort of finding a floor in here. Will BIRDDOG go below the 0.5? It could. It's possible. Or it could print an inverse head and shoulders here. So, BIRDDOG's holding some strength. This almost looks like a bird, like like a duck or something. The beam is in my DCA territory. After just look at how much time it spent in undervaluation. It actually got to extreme overvaluation in April and then quickly came down from that. So it needed a lot of time to cool off from that. You see, this is why you don't want to get to extreme overvaluation too soon in a project. But all this cooling off, where BIRDDOG basically felt like it was dead, has actually benefited the project because there's been a lot of accumulation, and now these people are holding the floor from these breakouts. And so BIRDDOG had a really nasty bearish divergence in December, at least on the wave trend, similar to these bearish divergences. But look at it; it's kind of chilling above the extreme undervaluation zone. It's actually in the green right now. I think it's turning back over red. But this might not even make it down to the green zone just because of all this accumulation. So when you see like a lot of accumulation like this, look, BIRDDOG is probably going to be a project to surprise. What if some of these minor Matt Furie plays actually overtook some of the major ones in terms of not overtook, but it overtook in terms of ROI, right? Like these have a lot more to give than the major Furie projects do. They're also more risky, but out of the 6 core projects, BIRDDOG is way down on the market cap list, and I think it looks pretty good at these levels. So could be a good one to accumulate and potentially get some really nice ROI later this year. When could that happen? I mean, again, I'm looking at late Q1, early Q2 timeframe, just like all the other ones, and that lines up with how the charts look. This is the FOFAR chart. FOFAR being the lowest market cap project out of the 6 core Boys Club characters. And I've actually been studying this chart for a really long time. This is a project that I hold very near and dear to me. I'm on the team, so there's a lot of personal pride with it. And this project resembles PEPE from early 2023 to early 2024. I mean, it's just like it's crazy like how closely this resembles in fact, we can go back to PEPE for a minute and you'll be able to see what I'm talking about. So if we go back in time to when PEPE was a newer project, PEPE debuted exactly a year before FOFAR. I mean, it is crazy how similar the charts look. Like I can't get over it. Look at this. Stare at this. This is PEPE during its first year, and so this is where we are now. Like in terms of the year, we're around here, right? And PEPE had just fallen below the 236 fib to test the summer breakout. They had a summer drop. And now let's go back and look at FOFAR. And I want you to notice just how similar these charts look. It's crazy. Absolutely crazy. Look at this. It almost to a T. We had the summer lows. And kind of like BIRDDOG, FOFAR just loves to chop. And so FOFAR has been in this crazy accumulation zone all over the place, really. Everywhere from below the 236, it's kind of, made this little hill to the 236, just kind of crabbing around. And it's not in a fast decline. It's a very slow decline. We are below the 236. We knew that could possibly happen. I feel like we're testing these lows from the summer. We're testing these. I do think that they will hold. I don't think we're going to have to come all the way back down again. I could be wrong about that, but I don't think that's going to happen. Could be wishful thinking on my part, but let's go ahead and look at some of the same metrics we've studied all the other coins. And surprise, surprise, death process everywhere, right? So we got rejected at the 100-day, very nasty series of rejections, and now we're below everything. So quite underextended, below the 236. We are, again, we're testing those summer breakouts, and this is something that I predicted would happen. I predicted this 236 fib was going to be a battle zone, and it sure is. We have our death process occurred a while ago. So and this has been a lot of like oscillation. In fact, if you look at, let's pull up the Gaussian channel, and I don't want to give this chart any more special treatment than I've given the other ones, because even, I hold this one, but I want to stay in my lane here. Same thing's happening, right? Gaussian's gone red. This is what we saw with all the other projects. We got a spill out happening. And, I anticipate that this chart's going to make the turn relatively soon as well. Also February, March, and it looks just like Pepe. So if history rhymes, we would expect a major breakout. And this is what I'm saying. BIRDDOG and FOFAR, to me, have the strongest ROI potential at this stage in the cycle out of the boys club. Extreme undervaluation, very similar to Pepe's first year. We almost made it to extreme overvaluation in May, similar to BIRDDOG. We didn't go quite as high. We did print that bearish divergence. Then we printed another bearish divergence in October. And we've just been crabbing. And we are almost down into the extreme undervaluation zone. This is around where we've turned around. This is where we turned around in the past. We turned around in September. We turned around in July. So honestly, I don't think much lower to go. I think, price could go lower. It's possible, could go a little lower, but I think we're getting down to the end here, down to the wire. And I think FOFAR is likely to show some relative strength pretty soon. So yeah, my conclusions are all the boys club projects have some, things in common. They tend to run around the same time, fall around the same time. The notable exceptions were, I would say Brett and Andy look almost identical, and they had a lot of strength in 2024, whereas BIRDDOG and FOFAR were kind of sleepers during 2024. Pepe's first year resembles FOFAR's first year, and a little bit of BIRDDOG's. BIRDDOG and Pepe, I can see some similarities there. LANDWOLF has a fantastic looking chart, and it just had a great year. And there was, the early part of LANDWOLF, like it had a brutal drop. But, all 6 projects I feel can be collectively thought as a super community, beta play on Ethereum. And I think their time to shine is coming soon. I believe in the strength of these projects. Map Furie Boys Club name is a very recognized name. And now there are obviously other plays on the Boys Club. There's the Night Riders collection. There's NFTs that he's done. I don't have time to cover all of that. There's beta plays like base Pepe. Which has been a very strong coin, but I didn't feel like this was the venue to do a review on it. I just wanted to focus on the core 6. So, and there's just all kinds of stuff, like all kinds of Fury plays. I am going to be paying the most attention to what I consider the alpha plays, which are the 6 OG projects, and those are the ones that I focused on. I'll go ahead and put the contract addresses down in the and the websites of all the Boys Club projects in the video description, so you can check them out for yourself, make up your own mind. I'm a huge Map Furie Boys Club fan, and I got completely sucked in to the Map Furie verse back in 2024. In the early part of 2024, I picked up my first bag of FOFAR in April, and I've held various Boys Club projects, but FOFAR I've been holding since April. So it's been a long time, and I can't wait to see where these projects go in the next few months. I'm really, really excited to see some of the tremendous growth that's likely to come, especially out of BIRDDOG and FOFAR. I think Pepe has a shot at making it to 100 billion, which would be incredible. Let's not forget that Pepe is aligned with Elon Musk's Grok. He's posted about it multiple times and kind of hinted at it. And so Pepe makes it to 100 billion. These other projects are going to soar as well. Andy and Brett are going to do great. LANDWOLF's going to do great. And I think FOFAR and BIRDDOG will have the biggest ROI because they're just so undervalued compared to the rest. But I think they'll all do well. And I think a lot of other Fury projects will do well too. But again, I'm not going to analyze those in this video. Make the video way too long. So thank you for joining me in the crypto simulation. I'm the Gaussian Snake. I enjoyed talking about all the Boys Club projects. Let me know what you thought. What's your favorite Boys Club project? Let me know in the comments below. Also, be sure to like and subscribe to this channel. Hit the notification bell if you want to be notified of future releases. And hop on over to my Telegram. We talk about all kinds of projects there. It's completely free. We have just a great group of people. We've got about 325 members, and everybody's respectful of each other. We welcome all kinds of different perspectives. We have an alerts channel. We'd love to have you there. Also, be sure to follow me on Twitter Twitter, TikTok, Instagram. Yeah, I think it covers most of it. I'm everywhere. So go look for me on those platforms and follow me if you're interested in my content on those different places. And I have a lot of boys club stuff there too. So, all right, folks, it's late. I'm tired. I'm going to probably get to bed pretty soon, but it's been a pleasure, covering this. A lot of fun. And let me know your thoughts. Eager to hear them. Bye.